This is the video for routine 103 of the Chuck-a-Luck game. It first starts out by setting tall to 105, wide to 1010, an XY value of 060, makes a color, a light green with a little red and a little blue, and does a rectangle fill. Well, let's go to the screen. That's this green rectangle from side to side and so tall. Then it says fill the 6 values at win total with 0. Set K to 0, and then it's going to go for I of 0 down here to 5, one at a time. So it's going to go around here 6 times. And inside the 6 times, it's going to go J to 0 to 3. It's going to go around 4 times. It's going to set the multiple that it calculated for this particular number into the win value plus offset K. And then multiply that by the factor. And that factor is the one that determines the win. The first factor is -1. The next factor is 1, then 2, and then 10. The factors are for the number of times the particular number came up on the throw. Then it takes that value and adds it to the win total sub I. Well, for that particular total. Well, let's go back to the screen and see what it's doing. First, it already knows these values. Then it's multiplying by the factor, and here it multiplied this one by the -1 and got a minus. This one by a +1 and got the number again. This one by 2 and this one by 10. And then it calculated this value, and it did the same thing 6 times. Now I've highlighted some more of the instructions in green. Makes the font 410, bold 10 point, color 0, which is black. Sets the X value to 20. Sets K to 0. Then for I of 1, and down here at the bottom we see next I 6, one at a time. It says set the Y value to 75. Put a number in page A for the value of I, and then put the text onto the screen. Well, let's show what that's doing. This is this line at the top where it says totals for 1, win, and then as I changes, it's 2, then 3, 4, 5, and 6. After it does that, it adds 14 to Y, sets L to 0. Then it says for J of 1, and then down here we see next J 4, one at a time. It's going to do this 4 times. It's going to put a number into a line, a second number into the line, and then put the text on the screen. Well, let's go back and see what it's doing. It's putting these numbers on the line. 4 times it goes around for each of the 4. And we already know it's in a loop over I, so it's going to be doing each one of these sets. We'll go back. It does that. It adds 1 to K, adds 128 to L. Now L it's using for the offset in page A. So why don't we go to page A at offset 136 and see what's there. Page, and I'm going to go to page A, and here is what's there. See, this is where it got the 1 times, 2 times, and the 3 times, total value, all the text that it needed. But at this point it's putting 2 values in here, and then writing the text, and then I changes to the next set, and so forth. Next, it sets the value of W to I and then subtracts 1 from it. W is going to go from 1 to 6, but when 1 is subtracted from it, it's going to go from 0 to 5. And that's what we've been using for the offset for the different values. Here it's going to put the number for the win total at offset W into the page A at 653, and then it's going to put that text on the page. Well, we'll look at that. That's down here where it says the total value. And each of them have a total value. We'll go back to the program. Next it says, branch if less than, the total count is less than 1, go to DE, that's down here. Reason it's doing that is because it can't divide by 0. We know the total count's not going to be 0, but this is just a check to make sure it doesn't do that. It sets V to the win total of W, multiplies it by 1,000, then divides it by the total count, and then it adds 14 to Y, puts this number at page A plus 760. And then it's going to display this as a percentage. And that's why it multiplied it by 1,000, because here in the num D it said show 3 of the positions as decimal positions. So we'll show where that is. That's this line down here where it says minus 0.058. That's the expected loss if you have a bet on 1, and here's the expected loss on 2. You'll notice they're all minuses because the house always wins. You lose. Back to the program. Well, then we see after that text is made, it adds 166 to X, so it's going to go to the next set of them, and it does that for I of 1 to 6. So we go back here. Now it's completed all of these columns. Now the last part of this routine, it sets the font to 430. That's bold 30 point, the color to 0, black, XY position of 28040. Says put the number of the total count at page A plus 117, and then put the text on the page, which is going to say the number of games and that value. Well, we go to the screen. It's talking about this, the number of games and how many there are. Well, that's the end of the video for routine 103 of the Chuck-a-Luck game.